Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for your patience. Firstly, and most importantly, I hope you're all well, and your colleagues and your families are keeping well and safe in these strange and unprecedented times. So welcome to our webinar, which today is about OnApp and our cloud platform for service providers, and in particular about the storage options you have when you build your cloud service with our software. My name's Jerry Mumford. I lead the sales team here at OnApp. And joining me today, we have Jim Freeman, who's our head of solutions and also leads our pre-sales engineering time. I'm also really pleased to welcome Boyan Krosnov to the webinar today. Boyan is one of the founders of StorPool and is their chief product officer.
Hey everyone, this is Boyan.
Thanks, Boyan. So today we're focusing on storage. I'm going to spend a couple of minutes introducing you to OnApp, and then Jim is going to take you through the storage options we give you. Then we'll hand over to Boyan, who will talk you through StorPool storage solution. Finally, a short Q&A, and please feel free to ask questions at any time using the questions tool. We'll do our best to get to all your questions at the end of the presentations. If we don't, then we'll come back to you individually with some answers. We're also recording the session, so we'll send out a replay link afterwards in case any of you have to leave or get interrupted during the course of today. So for those of you who don't know what we do at OnApp, here's a very quick overview. We're a software and services company focused on cloud. We help service providers build their own branded clouds so they can take many different infrastructure as a service products to market. We do that using the OnApp Cloud Platform, which is a complete solution for cloud based on KVM. Within that product portfolio, we have a global cloud marketplace, which gives our customers access to infrastructure all over the world. We can also provide our customers with a complete cloud platform as a fully managed service, and we have a large white labeled CDN solution too. We also work with VMware clouds to improve billing and automation and enable self-service. In today's webinar, we're looking at the OnApp Cloud Platform and your storage options. So what does OnApp enable you to do? Jim's going to give you a more detailed explanation in just a minute, but for now, I'm going to give you a very high-level introduction. OnApp simplifies cloud by giving you pretty much everything you need out of the box to take your own cloud services to market. But we do that on the understanding that you might want to extend your cloud with specialist tools, and you might want to build your cloud with specific types of hardware and third-party products. So we make that very simple. You can build your cloud on a wide range of commodity hardware. We support Xen or KVM virtualization. KVM is really the preferred option for our customers today, but Xen is available too. And as I mentioned, we also integrate with VMware. You can also run OnApp in AWS, and we've started work on Azure integration as well. And of course, we support many different storage options. Really, it's that flexibility and simplicity that makes OnApp a great choice for many different cloud service providers. We've built more than 5,000 clouds for our customers, and our software is used by companies in 93 countries. They include big telecoms providers such as TET in Latvia and TELUS in Canada. Companies like Aztec and IMART here in the UK and the Unbelievable Machine Company in Germany, they use OnApp as part of a broader MSP type of service. We also work with companies that offer more traditional hosting services like UK2 and NextGen in India. And we also work with companies who use OnApp for their own internal IT. For example, Viva Leisure, a chain of gyms in Australia, they don't sell cloud, but they have used OnApp to build an internal cloud with the same kind of flexibility you'd expect from a public cloud service provider. In a moment, Jim is going to give you a little more detail about how it all works. But today is not about a deep dive into OnApp. If you'd like to know more, please go on the link shown on the screen, or just drop me an email directly, and we'd be happy to give you a more of a deep dive into OnApp itself. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Jim to talk a little bit more about the OnApp Cloud platform and the storage options you have available. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jerry. Hi, guys. My name is Jim. I run the solutions team at OnApp. I'm going to give a short overview of the OnApp product today, detail some of the storage options that are available to you when you're building a new cloud on OnApp. We provide a complete platform so you can offer your own infrastructure as a service products. We have a software that runs on your commodity hardware and gives you access to a full KVM virtualization stack. OnApp runs within your own data center, but there are cloud options available as well. With OnApp, you get a fully white-labeled portal that you can also customize in your own language and offer products in your own currencies. We allow your customers to provision virtual servers based on one of 500 plus templates that we offer. Alternatively, you can build from your own OVAs, ISOs, or other application templates as well. You can build different tiers of cloud services with OnApp, as well as integration with third-party billing and backup solutions as well. You can then bill and cross-charge for all of these products however you want with our integrated billing system. All of this is managed through a single pane of glass, so there's just one UI and one API, whether you have one location or multiple. While we provide a full RESTful API and integrations with third-party billing and backup solutions, we also have our own scripting system that we call recipes. This makes it even easier to combine your virtual servers with your own custom services as well. Lastly, OnApp is built with resilience in mind. With automatic failover, virtual server HA support, logging, and alerts all built in, your cloud is even easier to manage and support. OnApp doesn't just manage virtual servers. Whether it's a bare metal, a CDN, VMware platform, or even your own custom appliances and services, all of these can be managed from inside the OnApp UI. For all of these services, there is a storage element, and we want to give you as many different storage options as possible. When you purchase an OnApp license, this gives you access to our own in-house built software-defined storage system. This utilizes the disks you have in your hypervisor servers. These are then pulled together to create as many data stores as you wish. For example, if you wanted to offer your clients different tiers of storage, perhaps a higher grade one using SSDs, you can do that. Using this storage system allows you to scale very easily. Just by adding additional disks to hypervisors or even just adding more hypervisors, this can all be done on the fly. While the vast majority of our clients use our own software-defined storage solution, there are many different use cases out there that might better suit something else. Firstly, we give you the ability to integrate with traditional SANs. You can do this just by presenting a block device via iSCSI to your hypervisor servers, and then OnApp will manage this via LVM. If you don't require this redundancy and don't want any additional complexity, you can just use the raw disks that you have in your hypervisors and manage these as LVM. I'd now like to pass over to Boyan from StorPool, who will talk about their solution and how StorPool can be used as the storage solution with OnApp.
Okay, so what I was saying is I'm going to talk about StorPool's role in the OnApp ecosystem. So if you have an OnApp cloud, how does StorPool play into that, and how do we make your OnApp cloud even better? So first of all, some introduction to StorPool, because I'm sure most of you have never heard of us, and it's necessary. So it's a scale-out block storage system, which is software defined, meaning we don't sell you a box. We work on standard x86 servers that you get from your preferred supplier. So in a way, it's like a SAN or an all-flash array, but better in many ways. So it runs on your servers in your data center. It comes with a full service package from StorPool, so through all the stages of your project. So from planning to deployment to upgrades to continuous monitoring and of your system. It's used mostly by public and private clouds, and it's used mostly in modern IT stacks. So in situations where there is automation, orchestration, scalability, and these are the kind of the most important properties of the clouds that we play in. And it's also used mostly for NVMe storage, but we also support hard drive storage and even slower tiers of performance. Next slide, please. So why do our customers choose StorPool? First of all, it's because of performance and efficiency. In the OnApp ecosystem, obviously, they choose us because of our good integration with OnApp. So it's not just a SAN for OnApp. It's a storage system which is deeply integrated, and that gives you a number of advantages that I'm going to talk about in the next slides. And it also gives you support for multiple use cases and multiple stacks from the same storage system. So if you have a StorPool storage system, you could attach that to your OnApp cloud, as well as use that for, say, bare metal servers, or use that for your VMware infrastructure, and kind of support multiple use cases from it. Because it's software defined, it gives you some independence from hardware. So things like in-service upgrades and maintenance, and retiring old servers, bringing a new generation of servers in the environment. Gives you a lot of visibility into the behavior, the performance of the storage layer. It has snapshot-based backups, and it comes with kind of the quality and support you would expect from a company that specializes in doing storage. So we focus on the storage layer, and we make that extremely good. That's our role. Next slide, please. A bit on how it works. So on this diagram, on the bottom, you can see 3 storage nodes. In these storage nodes, you have SSDs or hard drives. So we work with both kinds of media. You have a redundant Ethernet network in the middle. And on the top, you have a number of hypervisor nodes. And these would be KVM hypervisors in this case. On each one of them, we have the StorPool block device client, and that exposes block devices to virtual machines. And kind of the first difference between a SAN, a regular SAN, and StorPool is that because of our integration with OnApp, you get a separate virtual disk for each, a separate volume in StorPool for each virtual disk. Kind of this architecture can be deployed as a standalone storage cluster. It can also be deployed hyper-converged. So you have some flexibility and there are some advantages and disadvantages to doing it one way or the other. And in terms of preference of our existing customers, it's about 50-50 split. So some deployed hyper-converged, some deployed a standalone storage system. Next slide, please. And out of the same storage cluster, so here on the bottom, we've added connecting to VMware and Hyper-V hypervisors from the same StorPool storage cluster, which gives you this idea of you are able to support multiple use cases from one system. Next slide, please. So how it works, so you have storage nodes, and in them you have disks, which are SSDs or hard drives. One of kind of the key advantages of StorPool is effective pooling of capacity and performance. So if you have a number of disks in a number of servers, we make them behave as one large pool of space and performance. So you share this large performance between all of your virtual machines. And then, so the top part of the diagram is kind of the physical view, so storage nodes and disks and pools. And the bottom side of the diagram is more of the logical side of things. So in a storage pool, which corresponds to an OnApp data store, you have volumes and snapshots, and you can create thousands of volumes, and each volume corresponds to a virtual disk. And for each volume, you could keep a number of snapshots, right? Next slide, please. So in terms of OnApp integration, something very similar to the previous diagram we had. You have the OnApp controller on the top, a management network, OnApp hypervisors in the middle. In each one of them, you have virtual machines that use StorPool, the StorPool client, which is a block device driver, basically, a redundant storage network, and then a number of servers. So there are two aspects to the integration. One is how do virtual machines pass storage operations to StorPool, how are storage operations processed. And the other is this is the data plane, and the other side of the integration is the control plane. How do we make, how does creating volumes, deleting volumes, resizing volumes, etc. work? So you don't need to go and type commands in a CLI. You just work through the OnApp user interface or API, and StorPool just attaches to that in the background. So it's kind of a API-driven orchestrated system. Next slide, please. So with the StorPool OnApp integration, you can think of it as it works it gives you the same experience as OnApp using LVM on a SAN with the following benefits. So first of all, it's not a large LUN which would be unmanaged by the SAN. You get a separate StorPool volume for each virtual disk, and this gives you both very good visibility in terms of performance metrics and investigating performance issues or things like that. But it also gives you kind of control of these storage resources, of these provisioned storage resources from the storage system, which is a lot better situation than just seeing like multi-terabyte LUN in the storage system, which is what you get with the SAN. And you get accelerated features and optional extras, things like in a StorPool storage cluster attached to OnApp, you could have multiple OnApp data stores, so multiple pools. You could have an SSD pool and a hard drive pool. And then in OnApp, if you move a virtual disk from one of these pools to another, this would happen instantaneously rather than having to read the data from the storage system and then write it back. We do optionally again snapshots on activation. So every time you start a virtual machine, you get another snapshot of its virtual disks. We have the ability of connecting an OnApp backup server directly to the StorPool storage system. So you don't need to kind of in this way you remove the hypervisors from the backup function in OnApp, meaning reading the data for the backup doesn't need to be routed through the hypervisor, and this frees up some resources on the hypervisors. And we also have this optionally. When it says optionally, it means you can turn it off or on depending on your use case. Optionally, you can switch OnApp backups from being files on a backup server to being snapshots in StorPool, which for some use cases is the preferred way of keeping backups. Next slide, please. And I think the main reason, the main benefits of using StorPool with OnApp are the same as the benefits of using StorPool, which is effective pooling of capacity and performance, which gives you kind of a lot of flexibility in terms of, say, capacity of drives and hardware refresh cycles, things like that. It's highly available. It gives you a lot of performance, and it's not just about kind of megabytes per second and IOPS. It's mostly about having low latency, which is extremely important for application performance and especially databases. So we have this observation that if you run an application on a low latency storage system like StorPool, it just runs faster, even on the same amount of CPU and memory. You get detailed metrics and analytics, support for multiple use cases from the same storage system, and it's a full lifecycle service, meaning from planning through to monitoring and upgrades. Next slide, please. So these are some screenshots on the kind of metrics you have access to. So this is top left is the simple stuff, basic monitoring. Are there any issues at the moment or not? And the available space in a particular cluster. And then on the bottom left, you have like a performance status overview. List of volumes and list of disks and kind of physical view, logical view on the top right. And on the bottom right, you have IOPS and megabytes per second and latency metrics for an individual. So not this one, I have it on the next slide, please. So you have access to, with StorPool, you have metrics such as IOPS per second, IOPS and latency metrics for each individual virtual disk, which enables you as a service provider to answer questions like, so a customer opens a ticket and they say something is slow in my VM, and in this way you can quickly rule out if it's slow because storage is slow or it's slow for some other reason. Next slide, please. And this is things like kind of the abusers or virtual disks that have the highest load. Next slide. And that completes my part of the presentation. If you have any questions about StorPool or how StorPool works with OnApp, please ask the questions in the question box here in the webinar, and we'll try to answer them at the end.
Thanks, Boyan. I just want to quickly go over how to get started with OnApp and StorPool together, as it is super simple. On the screen now, you can see there's some links to the OnApp documentation on how to do this, and StorPool have their documentation as well. In general, the StorPool team will set up and configure the StorPool software within your OnApp cloud. Once the OnApp cloud is set up, you can then follow the OnApp documentation to complete the setup, or we have an architecture team who can do all this for you within OnApp. Once everything is set up, when you go to provision new services or add new virtual disks to your services, you'll be able to select the new StorPool data store during the standard OnApp wizards. We're now going to move on to the QA. So if you do have any questions about OnApp or StorPool, please either use the question tool, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Thanks, Jim, and thanks, Boyan. Great presentations. We've got some questions already. So, Boyan, for you, and correct me if I get this wrong, on backup volume mapped by target to backup server or used internal by StorPool function?
I think I understand the question. So one of the things I mentioned is that with StorPool, we can attach the backup server directly to the storage system. And this needs a bit of explanation. So normally the way backups work in OnApp is it creates an LVM snapshot, then exports that snapshot over iSCSI to the backup server. Then the backup server reads the data of the snapshot from the hypervisor to create a backup, right? And with StorPool, optionally, you can have a backup server which is connected directly to the storage system. And because we don't do LVM snapshots, we do snapshots in StorPool, and these are accessible by multiple hosts. We just attach that snapshot to the OnApp backup server, and you don't have this kind of three-step approach of taking backups. So this is one option. And the other option is instead of having an OnApp backup server, you can replace OnApp backups with snapshots in StorPool. So from the OnApp UI, you still see it the same way. It still appears as a backup which you can create, you can restore from it. But in the background, instead of these being files on a backup server, these become snapshots in StorPool. Drop us an email if you need more information on this, and we'll try to explain. Okay.
Great, thanks for that, Boyan. And a question for you, Jim, and then actually for you afterwards, Boyan. How long does it take to build a cloud offering with OnApp and then with StorPool?
From the OnApp perspective, it obviously depends on how large the initial system is, but in general, it's really just a couple of hours to get control panel and a couple of hypervisors online, and after that, it's just more like things like customization and creating your users and any third-party integrations.
Yeah, same for us. So the fast path, if you have servers which comply with the compatibility list and you have a good storage network already working, getting a system up is a matter of a few hours of automated installation, right? And then when I say fast path, there is also during a deployment we test this environment. So we test things like the drives and the network, and if we discover any issues during this testing, then we need to fall back to a slower process. Meaning we'll tell you, this particular network link doesn't look all right. Would you look at it? And then that slows the whole process. But it's all in the name of getting a high quality cloud environment at the end.
Great. And last question, just mindful of time, and again, this is for both of you. Is it wrappers around OnApp scripts or more deeper integration like using StorPool's APIs in OnApp Cloud?
All right, so the way the StorPool integration with OnApp works is it looks like LVM. So from OnApp's perspective, it's just another LVM data store, right? But instead of creating an LVM logical volume, it calls the StorPool API and it creates a volume in StorPool. So the answer to that question is it wrappers? Yes, it's wrappers. And does it use the StorPool API? Yes, it does use the StorPool API. It's not either or. It does both.
Great, thanks. Jim, did you have anything to add to that, or does that cover it from your perspective?
No, I mean, it's really StorPool question.
Great. Well, everyone, thank you very much for your time. We've definitely taken enough of it up. As I've said, if you've got any questions for any of us, please follow any of the links or drop me an email, and we'll reach out with a link to the recording. Thanks very much for all your time, and yeah, please keep well. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.